I see the born of no return. It's just ahead now, can't you see we're rushing for the end? I see the point of no return. Now see the point of no return. It's just ahead.
It's Tuesday again, Tuesday, May 5th, 2015. My name is Gary Hendershot. You're watching Wide Awake News on the Rents Radio Network, and time to strap yourselves in, buckle your seat belts, put your tray tables in the upright position, extinguish all smoking materials, and prepare for takeoff. We're about to do some barking at the moon. You know, it's funny when the talking head becomes part of the news, but yeah, last week I was not available to do a live presentation. Sorry about that. No, nothing nefarious. You know, I had a number of frantic emails. Oh, the men in black got you. No. The guys in a black Suburban parked in front of my house. I gave them their dozen donuts with the pink sprinkles, so they should leave me alone for the broadcast tonight. Bottom line is, I am old, I am frail, and I find that these days when I catch a bug of some kind, I don't have the ability to bounce back as quickly as I did in my youth. I think that's just part of getting older. But frankly, if you'll excuse me, you know, considering the alternative, I will just continue to get older and older. Thank you. And there has been a lot in the news, and you know, I usually try to find at least a couple little ditties that will give you a little bit of a giggle, but you know, tonight, you know, it's kind of hard to find anything that's laugh-worthy. There is a lady, and you know, some people are going to say, you know, she's a, you know, patriot this and patriot that, and you know, she's leading the good fight and all that. Others are going to tell you, you know, she's a rabble-rouser on the payroll of the Mossad, just trying to stir up trouble where none really exists. But you know, whatever you think of Pamela Geller, she is newsworthy this week. Now, Pamela Geller, for those of you who do not know, is the lady who organized, you know, Draw a Picture of Muhammad convention in a town called Garland, Texas. This is, you know, shall we say, pushback over the Charlie Hebdo thing. Remember Charlie Hebdo? A little incident happened in France, you know, a few months ago. The official story is some crazed Muslim jihadists shot up a French magazine because they did some cartoons that cast Islam in a derogatory light. Okay, that was the official story. A lot of people died. It was a big mess. And, you know, beyond that, you know, it was hard to say. I heard some people say that, it, you know, it was all a Mossad job, that, you know, these guys were no more Arab than me, you know, that it was all done up and staged. It was a, you know, big thing, you know, to garner public opinion. France was getting ready to not recognize Palestine, but at least give Palestine a nod. This was contrary to Israeli national interests, and it was in the interest of Israel that the French decide not to do this. And some put two and two together, came up with six, and figured that, this Charlie Hebdo incident was all, a big stage play to get the French people all excited about Muslim terrorists and squash any efforts to any efforts that France might make to move in the direction of Palestine. And frankly, it appeared that that was the net result. Well, this Pamela Geller woman in Garland, Texas, arranged a big convention where local artists were invited to come in and lampoon the Prophet Muhammad. It's kind of like, in many ways, waving a red flag in front of a bull. There are some Muslims, a small minority, that take their religion so seriously that they feel that if you say something bad about the Prophet Muhammad, or you do a cartoon that's in some way inflammatory about Islam, these people are just crazy enough, they will seek revenge. Okay? Now, if you think this is unique in Islam, you don't have to look back too far to find crazy Christians assassinating abortionists, because as far as they were concerned, these abortionists, under their brand of Christianity, these abortionists were murderers. Now, frankly, whether you think an abortionist is a murderer or not, under the secular law of the land, they're performing a medical procedure that is legal. And if you, because this is an affront to your Christian faith, seek to murder them, it is you, not the abortionist, that'll run afoul of the law. Now, whether you believe that that is a good thing or a bad thing, frankly, is irrelevant. I use the comparison just to remind folks that there is nothing unusual about wild-eyed evangelicals. They come in all colors and all religious faiths. And yes, there are real Muslim terrorists out there. Now, does that mean that anybody who pulls out his prayer rug 5 times a day and prays towards Mecca is a wild-eyed, crazy evangelical that's going to slit your throat if he gets half to? No. No more than every Christian would sneak up on you and slit your throat if you work at an abortion clinic. Most Christians are more sensible about the application of their faith, as are most Muslims. Now, this woman Geller swears up and down that she's not anti-Muslim, she's anti-jihadist. But frankly, much of the material that she's published would lead one to think otherwise. And this convention that she set up in Garland, Texas, to, draw a cartoon about Muhammad, seems to have gotten the desired effect. Yes, there really are wild-eyed, crazy Muslims out there, and a couple of them made a trip of some 1,200 miles from Phoenix, Arizona, all the way to Garland, Texas, and decided to exact Allah's revenge on these people. Now, the way these two fellers handled this Seems like a Keystone Cops episode. You'll have to excuse me again. The Keystone Cops was a comic silent film from the 1920s. And it was very humorous, but the cops were always falling off the back of the truck and doing all kinds of weird things, and it was a giggle. And these guys seemed to handle their Islamic terrorism kind of like a couple of Keystone Cops. They were armed to the teeth. They did manage to wound a security guard, but frankly, a traffic cop with a handgun managed to take them down. Even though these guys were sporting AK-47s, they were dressed to the nines, looking like the meanest, baddest terrorists you can possibly imagine. But obviously, these fellows had no real training, no real skill, no real military capability. These were terrorist wannabes, and they paid the price. And many in the Muslim community are probably cheering, those sons of bitches got what they deserved, same as you. Now, kudos have to go out to this traffic cop. This guy's, normal day is, directing traffic. He's not exactly on the front line of the war on terror, but his quick action probably saved some lives, because even though these two Muslim terrorist wannabes were obviously not terribly skilled in the practice of their craft, had this cop not been there and taken quick, decisive action, it could have been a lot worse. We could have had us another Charlie Hebdo type incident. Now, what is the moral of the story here? Well, it's all over mainstream media that these guys were with ISIS. Yeah, ISIS. Yeah, ISIS did it. ISIS did it. ISIS did it. Yeah. ISIS. Oh, come on. First it was, ISIS had training camps right across the border in Mexico. And now, it's being reported that ISIS is claiming responsibility for this attack in Texas. And yes, this is the first assault on American soil by ISIS. And boy, you can expect more. ISIS is coming to get you. You better be checking under your bed every night, because that ISIS boogeyman is hiding under there, and he's going to sneak out as soon as you fall asleep and slit your throat. Look, all of this goes back to one news purveyor. All the mainstream media is quoting this woman, Rita Katz, at an outfit called Site Intelligence Group. Now, frankly, I hate to even give this woman, I even hate to mention her name, but, the source of all the mainstream media's thumping of this boogeyman, this waving of the boogeyman in front of you, trying to scare you to death, get you all upset. Oh, that boogeyman's out to get you, boogeyman's out to get you. It all comes from one source, Rita Katz at Site Intelligence Group, who is a known purveyor of disinformation. But you'll hear her quoted on CNN. You'll hear her quoted on MSNBC if you waste your time listening to that garbage, which fewer and fewer people are these days, thank God. Bottom line, yes, there really was a homegrown Muslim terrorist incident in Garland, Texas. Yes, a couple of wannabe Muslim terrorists were killed. A security guard was injured. But this just seems like more COINTELPRO to me. I look at this, I am not going to get all excited about it. A couple of whack jobs, regardless of what faith they are, regardless of which direction they pray in, regardless of how many prayers they say a day, a couple of whack jobs got it in their head that, they don't like homosexuals, or they They don't like people who smoke marijuana, or they don't like abortionists, or they don't like people who draw nasty pictures of Muslims, or they don't like people who put a crucifix in a jar of urine and call it art. They got it in their heads that this was enough of an affront against their faith that they set about to commit mayhem. People like that come in all races, religions, and creeds, you know. It's a equal opportunity endeavor. And before you get all upset with every Muslim out there just because a couple within their numbers were whack jobs, remember that there are whack jobs within your own community. There are black whack jobs, there are white whack jobs, there are Asian whack jobs. You think you're Christians, you think you're above it? You don't have to look far within your own community to find your very own brand of whack jobs. They're out there. Be aware of it. Oh, couldn't get rid of my piece of paper. Baltimore. Yeah, Baltimore. It's only 100 miles north of me. I used to live in Baltimore back in the early 70s. I lived in South Baltimore in the Edgewater area for about a year, and then I moved to a white flight neighborhood out northwest of Baltimore, a little town called Reisterstown, just outside of Baltimore. I did business in Baltimore every day. Drove all over that city. You know, it's no big deal. I mean, I drove in black communities, I drove in white communities, I drove in Jewish communities, I drove in Polish communities. Back in the day, back in the 70s, Baltimore did have a really interesting ethnic diversity. I mean, all the Polacks lived in the Polack neighborhood. And man, I tell you, you want some good eats. You know, you go up to the Polish part of town because some of the Polish food was really, really good. And there was a thriving black community back in the 70s, black businesses. And a lot of people nowadays, oh, what about diversification? Oh, well, that's segregation. No, as folks of similar culture do tend to want to live together. Polish people want to live in a neighborhood where most people kind of look like them and, have similar backgrounds. Black people want to live in a neighborhood where most people kind of look like them and have similar backgrounds. There's nothing unusual about that. That is human nature. The idea of forcing people of radically different races, cultures, and so forth to live together. That is what is kind of unnatural. Left to their own devices, people who are allowed to choose who they group with do tend to group with people who are similar to themselves. People, that's just human nature. Now, how some, government law and government program is supposed to change human nature that has evolved over thousands and thousands of years, how, with the snap of a finger and a sign of a piece of a document, how all that is supposed to be changed, I got to kind of wonder, is that reasonable? Is that realistic? But the news about Baltimore is kind of sad. We've had another incident where a young black man was apparently killed by police. We had something similar in Ferguson, Missouri, not too long ago. Caused a lot of tension, caused a lot of trouble. And something very similar went on in Baltimore recently. Now, the way this young man was put to death is kind of shocking, kind of grisly when you think about it. Basically, he was bound, tossed into the back of a van with no restraints, and given what could only be called a rough ride, a joyride around town, bouncing him around in the back of that vehicle for quite some time before being delivered to the police station. Apparently, this is something that is all too common. It's a technique that police, not just in Baltimore, tend to use to punish those they feel are guilty. Kind of like an episode of Judge Dredd where the police are judge, jury, and executioner. Should be hearing the music here just momentarily, and yes, I am. So I'll ask you to be patient with me for a few moments while I let the studio have the floor to sell some products. I got to keep the lights burning somehow. We'll be back with some more barking at the moon right after these important commercial messages. Guess I better unmute my microphone, otherwise you... We are back from that blatantly commercial interruption to the evening's barking session. But, we're talking about what went down in Baltimore. A young fella, Freddie Gray, killed under very suspicious circumstances by the police. Now, was this fella, Freddie Gray, an angel? Hell no. Apparently he, had some interaction with the police previously, some minor drug busts, mostly minor stuff, but still, he had a rap sheet, okay? And the story that's coming out now, this only since the cops' feet have been held to the fire, the story that's, well, he had a knife, and that's why the police felt justified in killing him by bouncing him around the back of a van for a considerable period of time. Okay. Frankly, I don't care. I think I said this last time. I don't care if this kid was a baby raper. All right? Once he is restrained and in custody, it is the responsibility of law enforcement to deliver him to the jailer. It is not their responsibility to invoke summary execution. I don't care what Freddie Gray supposedly did or did not do. I don't care. I don't care. It is not the responsibility of the police to act as judge, jury, and executioner. That is above their pay grade. Okay? Now, they had this fellow in custody. They had him restrained. There is no excuse for the summary execution of someone in captivity. I mean, if this was an enemy in war, if it was your worst enemy in wartime, under the Geneva Convention, that is a hanging offense. Okay? If we were to apply the Geneva Convention to this interaction between Baltimore police and Freddie Gray, those cops should be hanged. Now, in Ferguson, a lot was made of the fact that it was a white cop that gunned down a black kid. Well, things are a little muddled in Baltimore because it appears that, half of the cops involved in the murder, and yes, I do not use the word lightly, murder. Half of the cops involved in the murder of a bound man in police custody happened to be black. So, all right, now, there was pushback from the community in Baltimore. People were angry. Okay, this isn't the first time this has happened. There's been kind of a, a running issue between the black community in Baltimore and the Baltimore police. One quote from a fellow up there, if somebody in the black community has a problem, they can't call the police. He says, you don't call the police. If you call the cops, because somebody did something wrong, they're liable to, beat the tar out of you as they are go apprehend the criminal. Apparently the black community has long-standing suspicions about law enforcement in Baltimore. And the Freddie Gray incident kind of pushed him over the edge. Now, I love one report that I heard, about this black mama. She was apparently watching news report, live on the scene video of the protests that were going on, and she saw her boy out there. She apparently grabbed her purse and walked down there, grabbed hold of her kid, and just started wailing on him. Now, I get it, but I know people like that. Okay, just like with the Muslims, okay, you have a certain segment of the black community that feels they have been pushed so hard into the corner, they got no place left to go, and they come out like a wild animal, clawing at anything that's between them and what they see as freedom. Are they justified? That's something you're going to have to consider and make up your own mind. Perhaps if you saw enough people who look like you being murdered by an identifiable adversary, perhaps you might feel differently. Perhaps you might feel like you were targeted, you were threatened. So many people that look like you have been executed by somebody who looks like them, that them becomes the enemy. Okay? It's a matter of perception. Again, this is human nature. This is human nature. There is no way to make it just go away. There's no way to put, a candy coating on it and pretend it isn't real. It's human nature. When you see so many of your neighbors treated badly by an identifiable group within community, whether they wear a fancy blue uniform or they just happen to be the Crips, Bloods, or whatever, when you see so many of your neighbors murdered, injured, damaged by one group that you can identify, you personally start to feel threatened. And yeah, you might want to take action. Now, here again, there is an argument to support the COINTELPRO scenario. There is some evidence that the same fellers who are raising hell in Ferguson were bussed in to raise hell in Baltimore. That the locals were just pissed, and they were out on the street saying, "You sons of bitches, you did it again." And the real radicals, the ones who were actually burning, raping, pillaging, and looting, were these hired thugs, the George Soros thug groups, that were bussed in from Ferguson. They already did their thing in Ferguson. Now they need to do it in Baltimore. Maybe Cleveland, maybe Chicago will be next. Who knows? But these, this is a roving band of thugs for hire that can take advantage of any crisis and, you betcha, make it even worse. So, was that the scenario? Because, see, there is an agenda within the United States. There are those within the United States that think, we really need to get control over all the various police out there. We need to get those guys all under federal control. Because, see, once we shift power from local authorities to the corporate state, and with so many of these trade agreements going into to effect, the idea of a local sheriff or a local police chief saying, I don't care what your treaty says, you ain't going to do no fracking here. I don't care what your treaty says, you ain't going to sell that GMO poison in my neck of the woods. Too much of that, local flavor, too much of that could get in the way of the corporate agenda. Okay? So the idea of federal control over all the sheriff's departments, all the police departments, it's been moving in that direction slowly but surely. You get all the police departments hooked on, federal handouts. I'll be back with some more barking at the moon right after these important commercial announcements. This one's going to need more development of this argument. Alrighty, and we're back from our last break of the evening, which means I've got about 12 minutes to tidy up my arguments on this Baltimore situation. I think I can manage to pull that off. All right. So just suppose for a minute that you're a guy like George Soros. You got more money than you can possibly spend in your lifetime. And you had a little meeting with a bunch of your buddies, and you all decided, we really want this TPP thing enacted. We really want this TPIP thing enacted, and we're gonna have a global playing field, and we don't want to be bothered with local rules, local laws, local sheriffs, local police departments, So how are we going to pull this off? How are we going to create this global scenario where the choices that each community would assume they could make for themselves are no longer a hindrance to doing business? Well, I got an idea. Let's get the police departments hooked on federal subsidies. Yeah. Let's get the sheriff departments hooked on federal subsidies. We just need to throw them a little crumb every now and then. They're hungry. Funding's always a problem. Budgets are always tight. So if we can get them hooked on a little sugar from Uncle Sugar, they'll be more compliant. Well, that's been done. And at this point, you can pretty much assume that your police department, the police department that you thought you paid for, you thought you might have some say over, really doesn't give a damn about you and the community that they police, because they are so tied to the federal dole that they're going to do whatever Uncle Sugar says. But that's not good enough. You got the Al Sharptons of the world out there saying, because of incidents like Ferguson and incidents like Baltimore, we really need the police departments to be organized under federal authority. We need a centralized authority over these boys. So that'll solve all the problems. What do you think? Now, if the police department that supposedly protects and serves you was being run by a bunch of bureaucrats out of Washington, D.C., with a one-size-all approach to all problems, do you think that would make you feel safer and more secure? I can tell you George Soros is all for this, because, that way, he doesn't have to bribe 5,600 county officials. He can just, bribe the congressman that he's already picked in Washington, and he gets whatever he wants. They'll be fracking in your backyard next week, and you'll call the cops and just, oh, somebody's fracking in my backyard. I say, yeah, isn't that something? Hey, they're fracking in my backyard too. Isn't that great? Yes, nationalizing the police. That is the agenda. And a summer of civil unrest. Yes, a summer of civil unrest like we have not seen since the 60s. Maybe in the making. We'll just have to see. Now, am I right? Hey, my opinion on things, and $5 get you a cup of coffee at that fancy yuppie joint that charges too much for a cup of coffee. You know who I'm talking about. I won't say their name because I refuse to give those SOBs any airtime. But, you know, my opinion, and $5 get you a cup of coffee there. You know, you're going to have to consider the arguments on the table. I know there's some of you out there saying, oh, it's just those darn blacks in Baltimore raising hell, you know. They just want more welfare. I know. There's some of you out there that are going to make that argument. And look, you're entitled to your opinion. You're entitled to your opinion. I think most of the folks in Baltimore, as angry as they were that yet another of their neighbors was murdered by the Baltimore police, as upset as they were, most of them were fairly restrained. I do believe that the instigators of the trouble were professionals. I mean, these guys go around the country doing this. Anywhere there's any kind of racial tension, they're in there trying to keep you and your neighbor divided, because it makes it so much easier for them to have their way with you. If you are so busy, you know, black man fighting against brown man, fighting against white man, fighting against black man, fighting against yellow man, fighting against red man, fighting, you know, if they can keep you just running around in circles, fighting amongst yourselves, it makes their job of having their way with you so much easier. So yeah, if we can get all the white people out there just scared to death, oh, they got to be thinking of their black neighbors. They got to be thinking of them like they're Muslim terrorists. Because any day now, those crazy black people are gonna tear up the. They're gonna just come across the board. Oh, it's terrible. Oh, you know, and black people. Oh, that white guy, he hates you. Oh, he hates you. He hates you just because you're black, and he's gonna hold you down, and he's gonna rape your babies, and he's gonna kill your mama, and oh, that white guy, he's so bad, he's so evil, and he hires all these thug police. Yeah, all these thug police, half of whom happen to be black in this case, just to torture, terrorize you, and keep you down. Yeah, keep you in absolute fear. Fear is where they're heading you. They want you scared. They want you scared. They would really like for you to pick up your gun. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They'd like you to pick up your gun. They'd like you to go down to the black neighborhood, you know, you and a bunch of your buddies, you know, maybe even put on some damn sheets. They would really like you white people out there, they would really like you to go out and play KKK and string up a couple of black people. You know, that'd make you feel real good, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it? You know, do you really think you're going to solve the problem by retaliating against your black neighbor? He's every bit as scared as you are. Think about it. Think about it. And as with all things, make up your own damn mind. But don't go off half-cocked, regardless of what color you are. All this media hype is intended to scare you. and to divert your attention from the real problem. The fact that about 1/100th of 1% of the population of the United States is stealing from the white man, the black man, the brown. He's stealing from everybody. Okay? 1/10 of 1%. When you start talking about that 1%, you know, we need to tax the hell out of the 1%. Well, the 1/100th of a percent that really run things, they're laughing. They're saying, yeah, go for it. Go for it. You'll never get me. You know, I got my money so tied up, you'll never find it. But, you know, when you start talking about the 1%, it gets down to people who make like $250,000, $300,000 a year. Now, for a lot of us, you know, we envy the guy who makes $250,000, $300,000 a year. I mean, he lives in a big house. He's got a couple of sweet cars. He might have a boat. You know, he's probably on his third trophy wife. You know, I mean, we think he's living large. You know, we envy him. You know, he's the 1%. He's probably a small business owner, probably employs maybe 100, maybe 200 people. Yeah, to be honest with you, he's kind of the mover and the shaker of the world. He's the one who gets things done. He's got a good idea. He builds something, he makes something, he creates something, he forms a company, he employs people. You know, he's the one that, frankly, we all ought to be trying to protect. You don't need to tax the living daylights out of him. It's this 1/100th of a percent. The true uppers that are the real problem. Most of them, you don't know their names. You know, oh, people talk about, oh, Rockefeller, oh, Rothschild, this, that. Well, I guarantee you, if you know their names, they're not the real enemy. They're just, you know, the face man that's been put out there once again to distract you. It's like a magician. He keeps you focused on his right hand while he picks your pocket with the left. That's how most magic works. And that's how the magic of controlling a population works. Keep you looking at the right hand while the real evil is being done by the left. I thought I timed that right, but it looks like I got a couple more minutes left. I'll tell you. Cop culture. Cop culture. For those who are watching the video feed on this, you know, I purposely used this particular picture because this guy, this cop is pointing an M16 at a white guy. Everybody seems to think, you know, this thing between cops and the civilian population, it's all white cops against black culprits or whatever. The white cops are just picking on the black people. Now, come on. In reality, because of all the pushback from community, the odds are much higher that a cop will pull a trigger on a white guy or an Asian guy or a Hispanic guy than a black guy. So, you know, you black criminals out there, the cops have kind of given you a pass because, you know, they're scared to just, you know, they're scared to just do a summary execution on a black right now because, you know, all the bad press that's been getting. But hey, whites and browns, you got a target on your back. It's open season on white people and brown people. They get a pass. All right, I'm hearing the music now. Looks like I was about a minute off on my timing on tonight's presentation, but hey, nobody's perfect. I'll be back again next Tuesday to do some more barking at the moon, but that's going to have to be it for me tonight. Take care, all. Alrighty, I've disconnected from the network. All right, guys, how did I do tonight? How many of you agree with my take on the Baltimore fiasco? How many of you think I'm full of shit? Let's hear it. Okay. All right. Put your hand up if you think my my take on it is pretty rational. Put your hands up. Let's see what the count is. Okay. All right. How many of you out there now? How many of you out there think Gary's full of shit? Put your hands up. Okay. All right. And, you know, everybody's going to have their opinion on this. I understand that. You know, it's just like that stuff that went down in Ferguson. You know, most of those people in Ferguson, the ones who lived there, were going, wait a minute, it's not us. Those guys over there, they don't live in our neighborhood. We don't know who the hell. That guy, you know, burning down that store over there, we don't know who the hell that is. He's not one of us. You know. And it's the same thing in Baltimore. Yeah, you know, okay, a couple of the impressionable youth, it's like that woman who saw her son involved in that, got all pissed off, went down there, grabbed him by the scruff of the neck, just wailed on him. I understand she's being CPS'd now, too. You know, I look at something like that and I say, now, there's a mama, okay? I mean, she's trying to raise a righteous kid, okay? She's doing the best she can. She sees him out there doing some stuff he shouldn't be involved in. Maybe he got hooked in with the wrong group of guys or whatever. And she takes mama-style action. Grab that kid, just beat the living tar out of him. I understand she's being CPS'd. You know, they're going to take her children away from her because she's trying to raise a decent kid. You know, that's the nanny state for you, you know. I mean, it's okay for that kid to be out there throwing rocks through store windows, but if mama gets pissed off, or it's okay for the cop to go tase him, throw him in the back of a van, bounce him around the highways for an hour or two until he's dead, but, you know, that's okay. But, you know, if mama catches him doing it and just wails on him you know, somehow that's bad. You know, sometimes you just got to laugh, because if you don't laugh at stuff like this, you cry. You know, it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. Ah, well. I think it's all about nationalizing the police. Okay, I think that's where we're headed, and I think you're going to see many more like this. I think we're going to have a summer of rage this year. And they need something. They need something, because, you know, the economy, frankly, is for shit. I don't have to tell you that. I'm sure many of you out there are suffering the effects of the economy. I can tell you that I'm not immune from it. You know, I got whacked pretty bad in the back of the head back in 2008, I guess it was. And, you know, I've learned how to adjust my lifestyle, and I'm making do with about a third of the buying power today that I had in 2008. And I'm sure that many of you out there are in a very similar situation. Things keep getting more and more expensive, and you know, the income just does not seem to quite keep up with the outgo. And there are many out there who, if not for a little subsidy from Uncle Sugar, this is another. You know, they would like to get enough of the population of the United States hooked on that little taste of sugar from Uncle Sugar, so that, you know, they will. You know, you don't bite the hand that feeds you. It's got to be the local guys who are causing me all the trouble. Uncle Sugar sends me a check every month. You know, Uncle Sugar, good. Oh, yeah, that's how they want you thinking. So it's a matter of, you know, dividing us so that we cannot unify. They'll get you so scared of your Muslim neighbor, so scared of your black neighbor, so scared of your white neighbor, so scared of your brown neighbor, so scared of your Jewish neighbor, so scared of your Christian neighbor. They get all these groups. You know, scared of each other. Oh, they're going to get me. They're going to get me. Get you so paranoid that you are divided and easily conquered. If ever there came a time, you know, one of the interesting things I saw out of this Baltimore incident was you had Crips and Bloods sitting down together at the table saying, hey, you know, this little fracas between us, you know, That's small time. Yeah, you know, now we have a common enemy. You know, we need to put past differences aside and address the common threat. Holy cow. Look, if the Crips and Bloods can sit down, smoke a peace pipe, and get over it, it gives me hope that the Muslims and the Jews might someday resolve their differences. You know, I mean, really. I mean, it's something on that level of significance. And you got the Al Sharptons of the world out there throwing gasoline on a fire. You know, he's part of the COINTELPRO. He's out there, you know, trying to fire it up. You know, and for that he gets forgiven his little tax dalliances. You know, the Browns don't pay taxes for a few years, and I think they're, you know, still in the slammer. Al Sharpton ain't seen a tax form he likes in his entire life, and but he's out there spouting the party line, so you know he gets a pass. Selective enforcement. Okay, we've got a two-tier justice system where it's just us. Yes. All right, guys, that was it for my my articles for the evening. I'm open to suggestions. You know, if anybody out there in the studio audience thinks there was a hot item in the news that I should have covered, that I neglected, I'd sure like to see a note posted up in the chat room so we can discuss that. Boston Marathon bombing. Yeah, you know, I still have grave reservations about that Boston bombing thing, and the Sandy Hook thing stinks to high heaven too. You know, I look at the evidence that's been put together by Wolfgang Halbig is his name, or Halbig? I think it's Halbig. Wolfgang Halbig, I think, is his name. And this guy's no slouch. I mean, he knows his stuff. I mean, he's kind of an expert in school security. He lectures on it, you know, on a regular basis. He actually gets paid to come in and advise school systems on school security. So, you know, he knows his stuff. And he's investigated this, and he has developed some very compelling evidence that whole Sandy Hook thing was a stage play. You know, it stinks to high heaven. And I've seen others who've dissected the official story on the Boston Marathon bombing, and it looks like it was done on a Hollywood stage. It could easily have been an absolute fake. See, there's always problems when you try and do a real disaster, you know, like the Oklahoma bombing. And, you know, the first trade tower assault, you know, where they blew up a truck in the basement of the trade tower, but it didn't bring the buildings down, so they had to come back a few years later and do it right. They had a few years to wire up those buildings with explosives, you know, pre-stage everything. So, you know, the next time, boy, all they had to do was push a button and those buildings came down. But that aside, you know, when you do a real dramatic event like that, there's always this problem with, you know, witnesses and people that you got to pay off to keep their mouths shut and all that nonsense. Boy, if you can do it with a bunch of paid actors and do it as if it was a movie set, you know, it's much easier to control, and as long as the press stands behind it and continues to repeat the lie over and over and over again, average Joe, who's sitting there absolutely mesmerized by the 60 cycle refresh rate on the TV screen, and he's just nodding his head because he's been hypnotized by that refresh rate on, you know, the vertical screen. Anyway, and I won't go into the technology of that, but it is at a frequency that the human is very susceptible to. It puts you in a mental state where you are prone to a suggestion. which makes it very easy for them to plant subliminal messages in your mind, which they do. You thought that was illegal, didn't you? No, 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 no. They've been doing it for years. They were doing it back in the 1950s, and got caught. They got caught every 16th frame. They'd insert a, boy, you really want to smoke, or, oh, you want some popcorn, or, oh, you want to eat Wheaties, and subtly, there are people watching that, they pick up that, it wouldn't be right in the foreground, it'd be in the back of their mind. All of a sudden, a little guy in the back of their head jumps up and says, man, I'm hungry, and I really want a bowl of Wheaties. I got to go to the store and get me some damn Wheaties. They're still doing it today, only now they're much more sophisticated. They have much better techniques. JFK, yeah. I can't say anything about JFK that hasn't been said. I mean, there's a lot of theories. Bottom line is, whether you go all the way back to JFK, whether you go back to the assassination of Lincoln, whether you go back to World War II, whether you go back to the sinking of the Maine, for crying out loud. The evidence is overwhelming. The evidence is overwhelming that the government never tells the truth about anything. I mean, if it's something of significant importance, I'm telling you. I think Ronald Reagan said it best. Now, there's a lot about Ronald Reagan I don't like. I'm not a big fan of Ronald Reagan. Frankly, I think he was nothing more than a paid talking head who he allowed some ruinous legislation to get through, stuff that nobody would have thought somebody like Reagan would have allowed. But there are many Reaganisms out there. Reagan had a way of putting things in very succinct words. One of the things he said was, the most scary words a person will ever hear, I'm paraphrasing here, is, "Hi, I'm from the government and I'm here to help." Yeah, that's a Ronald Reagan quote, paraphrased. And boy, he hit the nail right on the head. He hit it. He got it. Conspiracy theories show was that Jesse Ventura? Jesse Ventura did and here again, there's things I like about Jesse Ventura. There's things I don't like about Jesse Ventura. I'll tell you what, considering the clown car, or the car full of goofy, have you ever seen gone to a circus and you've seen a little bitty Fiat, you think maybe two people might be able to fit in there, and they open the door and like 10, 12 clowns jump out. That's kind of what the elections this year look like to me. I'm looking at all the clowns jumping out of this car. I'll be president. I'll be president. I understand Huckabee's throwing his hat. Huckabee wants to be president again. Oh God, I consider Mike Huckabee to be from that element of the Christian faith that's every bit as scary to me as the wackiest whack job Muslim terrorist. That guy's a whack job and a half. A guy like Huckabee, as president of the United States, I honestly believe would do everything within his power to bring about Armageddon on the assumption that Jesus wants it that way. I mean, that guy's a whack job and a half. I mean, anybody who would vote for a Huckabee, oh well. Hillary, prison or president? Yeah, that's a good. Really. I've beat up on Hillary enough. Okay, I mean, that woman has so much dirty laundry. She can't even get 6 Mexicans to come in and handle it for. But, on the plus side, as far as the globalists are concerned, Hillary, they got so much dirt on her she will dance their tune. So, I mean, she's a safe bet. I mean, if you're a George Soros or somebody else who's, pulling strings, Hillary's safe, and that's what they want. That's what they're looking for. They just, you can just bet that whoever gets the nod, you will be allowed to choose between their guy from column A or their guy from column B. And even though they're, different on the little peripheral issues, I mean, take for example, okay, all of those out there who couldn't possibly vote for a Democrat got to vote for a Republican because Republicans want to end abortion. Okay, there are people out there who are that narrow-minded. Okay, they've got this single issue. They've got this single issue in the back of their mind, and they make all of their political decisions based on this one issue. Okay, be it abortion, be it gun rights, be it, whatever your hot button issue is. Okay, focusing your politics based on that one issue is a serious mistake. Now, the Republicans had the presidency, the House of Representatives, and the Senate in their hip pocket for 8 years under Bush. Okay? What did you get for it? All those of you out there who would only vote for a Republican couldn't possibly vote for a Democrat because those Democrats, they're just a bunch of socialists, gun-grabbing, maggots, whatever, your tirade of the day is. Okay, couldn't possibly vote for a Democrat because of this, and I'm a good, loyal this and that and the other thing, so I got to vote Republican, okay? George Bush had everything under his control. The presidency, the House of Representatives, and the Senate. Did he deliver on any of the promises that you would hope your ideal political situation would give? Huh? All you got from George Bush is deeper in debt and more wars. That's all you got from George Bush. Didn't end abortion. Didn't roll back. I mean, frankly, when George Bush was elected, and we had Republicans running the House of Representatives and the Senate. I figured, any day I'm going to be able to go out and buy a machine gun. I mean, they're going to roll back all that gun control nonsense. The Democrats, but I'd really like to have me one of them, little bitty 22 caliber machine guns. They're kind of cool. They're fun to shoot. They're not that expensive. I mean, a real machine gun, a military style machine gun, that's too expensive to shoot. I mean, you cannot afford to run one of those things. But, I have seen a cool little 22 caliber machine gun with a drum magazine sits on top. It looks kind of like an old World War I machine gun. But, it fires fast and it fires 22s. And, man, I would just love to get one of those things out to the range. If it was legal to own one, and, I could actually, cart it down to my local gun range and just wail away with that thing, that'd be a blast, man. I'd love to have one of those things. Being 22, I could actually almost afford to shoot it. It'd be fun. I figure, okay, Republicans got control of everything. They're going to roll back all that. Well, I still don't have my machine gun. And they still haven't made abortion illegal. But, we've had 13, 14, 15 years of warfare now that got us nothing. That's what the Republicans did for you. So now you're real pissed off at the Democrats because of Obama, and you're thinking, oh boy, the Democrats really let me down. I'm going to vote Republican this time. You're going to get the same thing. It don't matter. It don't matter. If you could really change things at the ballot, voting would be illegal. I mean, it's just that simple. It's Hillary's turn, yeah. Some say it was Hillary's turn 8 years ago and Obama stole it. I don't know. I don't know enough about Democrat politics. When the Tea Party was pretty much absorbed by the Republicans, I lost all interest. I was a big Tea Party supporter there initially. It looked like it might actually be a viable third party, but when it just rolled in and became yet more neocons, I don't want anything to do with those sons of bitches. Amen. I'm getting some amens. Am I sound like a Baptist minister here? Praise the Lord. Pass the plate. Praise the Lord. Pass the plate. All right, guys. I'm tired. It's been kind of a long day for me. I still have to do my usual edits and get this posted up to YouTube. So I'll put it to the audience one more time. Is there one really killer issue? You know, it could have been one, you know, flew through the chat that I missed. You know, you might want to post it back up again if we didn't discuss it. But if there's one really dynamite issue that we just got to talk about tonight before I shut this thing down, let's go ahead and get it posted up in the chat room now, so we can you know, toss it around. I'm not, you know, we're just barking at the moon. It's not like we can really solve anything, but damn it, you know, we still have a right to free speech. If we don't use it, we'll lose it. Human fetuses to make vaccines. I can't go there right now, Maury. I'm still studying that issue. I mean, frankly, just the thought of it, you know, is enough to sicken me. The idea that they would use an aborted fetus as a culture for viruses, you know, that just, I mean, frankly, the thought of it just sickens me. You know. Who owns the aborted fetus? I mean, does the mother own the aborted fetus? Does the abortion clinic own the aborted fetus? You know, I have this horrible image in the back of my mind that aborted fetuses, instead of being treated with the respect of a deceased human being, are being treated kind of like lab rats. That's scary. You know. Yeah, well, see, the interesting thing is, you know, gas prices are low right now, and a lot of jurisdictions that depend on gas taxes are hurting. You know, they were counting on those gas taxes to help pay the bills, and of course, gas prices have been down for quite a while now. So so they're raising the tax on the gasoline. Now, this is an opportunity that they have taken. You know, they're taking advantage of an opportunity. Gas prices are low. It's easy for us to slip in a little bit extra tax on it. I guarantee you that those taxes will not be rolled back once gasoline prices start to rise again. And you know it's going to happen. You know, frankly, I think the low gas prices have held longer than I thought they were going to. I didn't think we'd have the low gas prices this long. But, you know, I just know that they're going to, you know, jack the prices back up again. And, you know, the way they're justifying these increased taxes now is because, oh, come on, folks, we're suffering. You know, we really need the money. Gas prices are low. Let us have a little extra. You know, we really need it to keep the roads up and this, and it's for the children, honest, and it's to help fight terrorism and help fight global warming. And whatever your hot button issue is, giving us some additional tax money is going to solve it. Honest. We need the money. Okay? But, you know, when the gas prices start going up again and that tax all of a sudden becomes a serious weight on the economy, they ain't going to roll them back. Because, you know, once that camel's got its nose under the tent, it's headed for your sleeping bag and it really wants to hump your leg. The best thing to do is, as soon as the nose comes on the tent, just beat the shit out of it. Yeah, I'm getting gas here in the D.C. area for $2.50-ish. You know, I think I got some gas the other day for $2.48, but it was down in the $2.30s there for a little while. I was tickled to death, man. I thought, man, this is downright retro. I remember. It doesn't seem like it was that long ago that. You know, I said, 99 cents for a gallon of gas? I'll never pay 99 cents for a gallon of gas. I ain't no gasoline worth $1 a gallon. That gas ought to be rolled back to 28 cents a gallon. We liked it that way. Yeah, I know. The times they do change. The times they do change. Yeah, I think a lot of people just, you know, we saw recently $1.99 a gallon. I've not seen $2 a gallon in a long time. Yeah, we're, you know, you'll pay around here in the D.C. area, you'll pay $2.50-ish at the name brand stores. I mean, if you just got to have the name brand gasoline. Now, me being, you know, I don't want to say cheap, let's say frugal. You know, I go to the off-price places, you know, where I can get a little bit of a discount because I happen to know that it all comes up from Louisiana in the same pipe anyway. You know, it's the same gasoline, but that's okay. You know, we'll talk about that another night. But you know, 245-ish, 248-ish, I think is what we're paying here. Okay, Zero saying it's about 270 where he is now. Yeah. Yeah, okay, I'm seeing reports from the chat room that you know, high twos, you know, 280-ish, 270-ish. Yeah. Yeah. Still, you know, keep in mind that they got you absolutely shocked. Remember when gasoline was climbing and it looked like it was going to hit $5 a gallon? It was up over $4, and everybody just knew, oh man, gas is going to be $5 a gallon almost any time now. You know, and you know, a lot of us were stunned at how fast the gas started going up in price. And then all of a sudden, boom, you know, it started going way down real fast. We went, oh boy, you know, okay, it was 250-ish, 275-ish, you know, $3. You know, it was in that range when it started making that rise towards 5. So now they get it back down to, you know, 250-ish, 270-ish, $3-ish, you know, in that range, and we all think it's you know, happy times are here again. You know, but believe me, they as soon as the agenda warrants, the price on gasoline will increase because they really don't want you peasants to have freedom of movement. You know, you peasants are supposed to be tied to the land. Okay, you ain't supposed to be moving about, and y'all are doing a little bit too much communicating on this internet. We're going to have to do something about that too. There'd be too much informing going on out there. Y'all supposed to be watching the information that we approve of. You know, all these, you know, other ideas, these alternative views on things are confusing you peasants, you tax slaves. Yeah. All right, guys, I am going to have to wrap it up. I got. Believe it or not, I'm still working. I have to, right after this show, I have to do some work on a server about 50 miles from me. Luckily, I get to do all this stuff by remote control. Modern technology, gotta love it. So I think that's going to have to be it for me tonight. I want to thank all of you for spending your Tuesday evening listening to me bark at the moon as if I could do anything about it. And I hope you'll consider the various arguments that are put on the table. And as always, you know, don't believe me, don't believe CNN, don't believe any of them. You know, consider all the various arguments and make up your own damn mind. Don't allow anybody to spoon feed you nothing. And the last thing you want to do is don't be afraid. Don't be afraid, because you know that when you become afraid, you make mistakes and you become very easy to control. That's it for me. I'll be back next Tuesday to do some more barking at the moon. Take care, y'all.
Ooh. the love of the old turn around. None of us are leaving here alive. Whoa, what will you say? What will you say? And what will you do? Whoa, what will you do? What will you do? Oh, I'm calling out to you. Won't you turn around? Oh, I'm calling out to you. Won't you turn around?